is it always necessary for a business to compete on price? I know you'll probably come up with the whole element of, like, as long as you build value, drive value,
Sure.
add, whatever more products and services. Like, is price that big of an issue for small businesses?
It can be.
Yeah.
Depends on your product. If you're competing, if it's a highly commoditized product, then yeah, the reality is you're going to compete on price.
Yeah.
But I full-heartedly support the idea that, as a consultant or as a services-based business, it is about moving away from, exchanging time for money to one of, how much value can you bring to the organization?
Yeah.
Right. So, you could structure opportunities where it's, based on ROI. So if there's possibilities to measure ROI against the work you're doing, why wouldn't you? That's really just putting your reputation on the line each and every time to be able to say, hey, I'm good at what I do. I can bring you value. I can bring you measurable value. And so for that, this is the way we're going to structure this. I've seen engagements work that way. But it's difficult because people equate value to time and to dollars. So it is tough to say, it may take me 10 minutes to figure a problem out. And the value to the business may be $1 million. So should I be paid for the 10 minutes or should I be paid for the value that I brought? That's the philosophical question that you're asking. Right?
Yeah.
And I know it's tough. It's a mind shift for a lot of customers to be able to say, why do I need to pay you that much money if it's only the effort isn't, doesn't align to the cost.
Yeah.
So it's this getting beyond the mindset of cost and moving and shifting it to one of value.
See, that's the interesting thing too, because then it gets to a point of, if someone's asking about, like, why am I paying this much money for what you're offering? Clearly, you have a marketing message dilemma there, or a challenge there, that you're not driving enough value to justify that cost, right? So this is something that's missing, is that as your price goes up, or let's say your price does go up, whether you start high, it doesn't matter. But if you're not delivering in your messaging that you're to justify that level or that cost, then clearly you have something going on there, right? That I feel value is a huge portion of a small business challenge.
But it's easy. It's easy to kind of go along the conversation of cost, right? Oh, it's only going to cost you $10 a month.
Yeah.
It's an easy, straightforward conversation to have versus this is the value you're going to get. And so therefore, this is, the cost is related and explicitly tied to the value that you're going to get from my product or service. Mm-hmm. That's the challenge. That's the difficult conversation to drive and to influence, right? Mm-hmm. The decision. So, it's like how you structure deals. You could do time and material. So it's just based on, however much time I spend, that's what at an hourly rate, that's the cost. To me, it's far more beneficial, I guess, for everybody to do fixed. To say, this is a project, this is the scope, let's decide, let's define what that looks like and what that finish line looks like, and this is the budget that's going to be required. So it's not about how much time it takes, right? It's about the value and the expertise you're bringing to the table. And I think that's what it is, right? You're selling expertise. How do you cost out IP? Mm-hmm. Right? To me, that's the challenge, and I think it's easy for that to get lost for customers today. It only takes me 10 minutes because I have 30 years of experience doing it. Mm-hmm. If you hire somebody that's, 2 years experience, it may take them 10 hours or 15 hours. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the value you get from experience.
So I think we're both on the same page here that, yes, we don't deny that some of these problems that HubSpot is mentioning are problems or challenges that small businesses have, but clearly it's not the biggest. It's not the 6 biggest challenges that they have.
Yeah,
right?
and I don't know if they kind of went out on the limb to say it was the biggest, but it was implied, I guess, maybe.
Let's find out. They just said 6 small business problems and how to fix them. It's almost like they picked like the easiest topics to pick out because, like, this was made. I think this was published in 2018.
Yeah.
When this has been the same 6 things for the past decade, right?
Yeah, it's stating the obvious.
Yeah, right.
I think so.
But like the real nitty gritty of it all, like if I were to choose 3 things that small business owners have the biggest challenges with, is 1, building a funnel, 2, building a buyer persona, but also running through some level of experimentation to get multiple different buyer personas and finding customers that they never really knew existed, and 3 is I actually think it's like trying to filter out all what everyone else is telling you and figuring out, okay, what are your best skill sets? Who are you as a person? It's almost a level of self-identification, if I would determine it, is figuring out, okay, as a sole proprietor or as a single, or, you know, if you have a partner, co-founder, whatever it may be, is figuring out what is your best skill set in driving conversation, driving revenue, or driving some level of lead generation and demand. What is the best skill set? Is it networking? Is it online? If your skill set is SEO, then maybe SEO is the best route for you to go. Well, for most people, it's not, but they try it anyway because it's like the internet's telling them, "Why don't you try SEO?"
Yeah. But you know what it is? There's nothing sexy in building foundation.
Yeah.
And it's tough to rationalize the budget that's required to build that foundation. So foundation in business processes, foundation in your tools, if we're talking marketing, what's your marketing stack look like?
Yeah.
There's a cost to kind of laying out all of that foundation, the plumbing of your organization. There's no sexiness to it.
Yeah.
You know? And so people want to kind of automatically and immediately go to something that has a little bit more sizzle, right? But truly, if you're going to kind of think about building a sustainable, scalable business, you have to really start with the foundation of your organization. So it comes back to, what's your skill set? And I would say equally important is what's not your skill set.
Yeah.
What do you need to hire out for? Or need to bridge your own capabilities to help kind of drive your business into success? So it is. You can't go from 0 to 100 right away. You have to kind of basically learn. You have to kind of be committed to laying the pipes, laying that foundation, and then starting to build on top of that.
I think I'm going to reference Mark Cuban, because people, a lot of entrepreneurs probably become an entrepreneur because they watch, especially now today, they watch like Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or whatever it may be. And I think the common theme out of whatever, like the thousands of pitches that they get, and actually this is what Mark Cuban really hit the nail on the head with, was cash is king. Like no matter what you go through, if you're never focusing on the cash and revenue in a business, even especially as a small business, there's just no way in all hell you're ever going to fund someone. Let's say you're not a marketer, right? And you want to be able to hire out a marketer or, as a complementary skill set. But if you're not driving sales, then you won't be able to afford that person.
A lot of problems are solved with sales. Right?
Exactly. A lot of problems in life are solved with money. Right? Yeah. And I don't know where people lose focus. Like even when I talk to some business owners and they're talking about, I want to change the world. I want to make a difference in the world. And then I ask them, okay, how's your business making money? It's like, I get it. Maybe you're a nonprofit, whatever it may be. But even a nonprofit still has to make money, right? To be able to fund a lot of the stuff they're doing.
It's, you know what it is? The reality is, yes, cash is king. A lot of problems are solved with sales, money, revenue. But everything is very connected. A great example that's so far off of cash and revenue would be culture. And you look at, other posts, you look at people who are really kind of providing insights into what makes them happy. And it really is, most people talk about the culture. People talk about working with like-minded people and so on. So you can't forget and dismiss culture and that kind of, I would say, that soft side of the business. And you can't forsake that for the sake of revenue, right? But it's tied. But my argument would be you could have the greatest culture in the world, but if you don't have sales, you don't have much of a business.
But you can also tie culture. Well, people are trying now to tie culture to a quantitative level
Sure.
to revenue. So let's say, for example, you spend an extra $100 per head on driving some level of culture and giving them what they want.
Yeah.
It drives whatever 3x, 4x in terms of like more revenue, in terms of longevity and how they support the
retention
clients.
and so on.
Retention and all those different elements.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother ballgame though.
Absolutely.
Especially for small businesses. Like
But
I would
SMB,
say,
yeah. I mean, it comes back to though, ultimately you need sales.
yeah.
To me, you need sales to define your business, to define the fact that you have a business. And then everything else kind of gets connected and contributes to that.
Yeah.
But really, if you don't have revenue, if you don't have sales, everything else is moot.
Yeah.
Right? You could, like I said, you could have the best culture in the world, you could use the best tools
Yeah.
and the best technologies, but if you don't have revenue to support it, you don't have much of a business.